Carissimi amici, dear friends, join me in my kitchen because today we're going to make pan-fried potatoes with sun-dried tomatoes and rosemary. So simple, so full of flavor. Pork chop with Pizzaiola sauce, a sauce with a little taste of pizza to it. An old treat from my past. And pasta Agghiu e Ogghiu, garlic and oil pasta. And today I'm going to share with you a story about the importance of Sundays in the Stellino family. Come for the recipes. Stay for the story.
Sunday was always a very special day because for many families who did not have the ability to be together because their mom or their dad had to work most of the day, Sunday was the one guaranteed day that after church everybody would get together and this fantastic family dinner would take place. And my mom always rose to the occasion. To be a child in my house was a treat. Walking into the house, smelling the aromas coming from the kitchen. The first thing that I would do, I was always curious. I would go in there and see what's in the pots and the pans, what she was making.
Pan-fried potatoes with sun-dried tomatoes and infused with garlic and rosemary. This is a side dish that tastes so good, it could be a meal unto itself. Let me show you how to make it. The first thing that we've done, we have placed extra light olive oil. These potatoes that are squared out, I've also parboiled in the present shape for about 5 minutes. Then I drained them real well, and now we're gonna put them in here. Enough said. Let's snap into action now. On your very first step, what you want to ensure is not to move the potatoes at all. Let them be as they are inside the pan. Why? People ask me always, it doesn't matter. It matters. This will ensure, as if you are patient enough to let them for 1.5 to 2 minutes to let them be on the same side, to start forming the first bit of browning, which is central to the success of this dish. What I have in my hand is rosemary. And there's a story that goes with this rosemary. My father always loved to cook meats with rosemary, especially roasted potatoes. And we used to go in the garden. We had a very small garden those days. And there was a big pot that my father had planted with rosemary. He would cut the fresh rosemary. I don't know why it's so emotional to me, but adding the rosemary to these potatoes is a very symbolic and important moment for me. Now, why is it that I didn't cut the rosemary? Leaving them as the whole branch, you will sense the presence of the rosemary, but you will not see it. Now, let's turn it. And here I go with the first shuffle. Now, we're gonna do flavoring through a series of layers. What does it mean? First, we go with sea salt. And if it's from Sicily, it's even better. Together with the salt, the next best friend is the pepper. Why am I doing this? You see this technique? It looks good. It means nothing, but it looks great on TV. I love to say that all the time. You know, you have to joke with yourself. Otherwise, if you don't have fun while you cook, what's the point? These are whole pieces of garlic. You're going to cook the potato over somewhat of a long period of time. And I want for them to cook with the potatoes at the same time. It's too bad that we do not have the ability to send out the aroma, because one of the most astonishing things that does remind me of home is the smell. I know, I'm in my house already. What am I talking about? You have to see it from my point of view. Sunday, you go out with your friends, you talk to them, we go to church, we come back home, and here is my dad, you know. And my dad has undone his tie, his collar is open, he's in the kitchen, he's cooking, you smell this aroma, he's telling stories, my mom is telling stories, my uncles are there, my cousins. And you say, what's it got to do with food? And you say, what's it got to do with potato? Why are potatoes so special? Let me tell you. You cook these potatoes right, not only they're special, but they put a smile on your face. They taste fantastic. It is at this point that there is another addition of flavor. What we have here is sun-dried tomatoes that we have kept fairly big, sun-dried tomatoes packed in olive oil. it's important that they're packed in olive oil. This dish will cook fairly quickly. I would say anywhere between 8 to 10 minutes, you should be able to have a complete dish in your hand. But this is only if you do parboil the potatoes. If you don't parboil the potatoes, you can still use it this way, but it will take you a few minutes longer. So always add an additional 5 minutes to that. Now, you don't need to do this, but I happen to have some fresh oregano, and I just cannot let it go, and oregano and rosemary go perfect together. I know, I'm super happy. The potatoes are ready. Let me show you to plate them. People say, how can you be so happy about just a plate of potatoes? And I tell them, to me, these are not potatoes. To me, these are special magic time machines. All of them in the shape of potatoes. These potatoes take me to a place where life was beautiful, where everything made sense. Where as a child, I always look up ahead and saw my parents, the food that they prepared, the smiles that surrounded the family. These are the things that you remember when life is tough. You do not realize this, but every time you cook something from your family, from your past, in a certain way, you once again find yourself visiting those moments that left you behind. And in my case, they were beautiful moments. And this is how you make pan-fried potatoes infused with rosemary and sun-dried tomatoes.
But those aromas stayed with me for all the years that I was in America, when I felt this sense of loss of everything that I left behind. So to me, Sunday is a time when I reconnect with my Italian heritage. Braised meats, roasted potatoes, these long, laborious dishes that I usually would not do every day just because they take too much time. But on Sunday, I love to make them.
Sunday dinner with the Stellinos continues, and the next recipe I'm about to share with you is pork chop with pizzaiola sauce, a sauce with a little taste of pizza to it. Let me show you how to make it. Pork chop pizzaiola. Two things I'm going to teach you today: how to make pizzaiola sauce and how to make the pork chop Palermo style. Let me show you what I mean. Here we have our pork chop, beautiful as you can see, but for us to cook it and do it right, we need to pound it. So several techniques available to us on how to do it. Let me show you the best part of it all. What I have in here is a basic plastic bag that has a slider onto it. Why do I place it in here? Why is this important? We want to pound this, but at the same time, we want to contain within this the way in which this will expand. One of the difficult things that people have using the pounder is that are unaware of how the meat expands. Watch this. Look how simple it is. And every time you need to pound it in a different fashion, you do this. What is a technique here? What are we looking for? We want to pound and slide out. As you can see, this is already gotten thinner on this side. You want to do it evenly all the way across. And this is what people really need to understand. When it comes down to it, we are pounding for two reasons. We want to make the meat itself thinner, so it's easier to cut into it, it's more tender. But at the same time, what we want to make sure is that we don't pound it so thin that we shred it apart. The technique with the plastic bag, as I'm showing you, prevents you from doing so. Very easy. You can do several of these at a time. Saves you an enormous amount of time. Good enough for us. Now, we need to do the Palermo style. How do we do that? Let me move this back into the tray. Your hands are the most beautiful instruments that you could possibly imagine. So I like to place it on the breadcrumbs, but I like to do two things. First, I like to brush it with a little bit of olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil will do well. It's additional flavor in this case. And here we go with, this is not from Palermo. This technique that I'm using right now, I learned it barbecuing here in the United States. It's a layer of several flavors. We have onion powder, garlic powder, paprika. I put on this one a little bit of cayenne, salt, pepper, and brown sugar. Now, we'll go to the other side as well. use your hands like this and make sure that everything is covered all the way through. And you see from a small piece of meat how much bigger this piece already is. I think that one of the techniques was designed in the old days just to render this look of something big from something small. Now you can do this ahead of time, but don't let this one sit in the refrigerator. Once you put the breading, the panè, like we say at Palermo, the next thing that you want to do is to cook it. Let me show you how to do that. Now, the one thing that you want to make sure is shake off some of the excess, and then very attentively, when you put this baby in, we start at the bottom, we go all the way to the end, and then you let go. You want to cook this for just a couple of minutes per side, because this thing at this point, we've taken it down from almost an inch of thickness to roughly about a quarter of an inch, maybe at most a half of an inch. What you will notice also is that as the pork chop is cooking, it's shrinking a little bit in size. Is that a problem? No. What's happening is basically trying to retain as much as possible of its own juices on the inside. As it does that, is starting to provide a crust on the other side. Let's take a look and see how the crust is doing for us. Guarda che bellezza. This is exactly what we're looking for. And at this point, you want to continue the cooking until the other side looks exactly like this. One of the things that might be challenging for some of you is the bone. So what I want to show people is, when it gets to this point, the natural juices are trying to escape through the bone joint. So what I like to do is brown them like that. Look at this. So you just need a few minutes per side. When I do this for myself, I don't do any more than 2-3 minutes per side, depending on the thickness of it. So let's put this one aside now. Now let me show you to make the sauce. So in this particular case, we start the same way in which we started all our other recipe. Nice thick garlic added to it. What this garlic will do for us, it will give us this wonderful rendition of joy. Garlic, joy. Is it possible? Well, in my world, it is. Now, this is a little trick that I love. I started the oil in the pan, but the oil was cold. So I want to add the garlic while the oil is cold. Why? Biggest mistake that people make. In every recipe that I've ever seen that they use the garlic wrong is to burn the garlic. You burn the garlic, it's over. So by doing it this way, you're able to maintain the temperature that you want to get to and the garlic cooking in a uniform way. Plus, you don't burn the garlic because you have the ability to control it. And right here is where we're at. This is the point where the garlic is doing its thing. We're gonna lower the heat a little bit down. And at this point, we add red pepper flakes. We have fresh oregano. And if you never tried fresh oregano before, you should. To the fresh oregano, we add some basil and some parsley. Why are we making this infusion? Why is that important? What's it doing for us? We got to continue with some of the other flavoring. A little bit of salt to go at the bottom of it, and a little bit of pepper. But the most surprising thing is about to come now. Now, this is not a Sicilian thing. This is something that I've been experimenting with a great deal, and my belief in the yin and yang of things. A little bit of brown sugar, and when I say a little bit, I'm talking a pinch. If you really want to go into measure, you don't want to do any more than 1/8 of a spoon. The garlic is perfectly browning for us the way that we want it. And here we go now with the other ingredient. This you're going to love. This is peeled tomatoes, which we strain and chop. This is every Sunday at home, you know, to hear my mom and my dad talking about what they're making, to hear the words, let's make some pizzaiola, immediately we'd be super happy. At this point, we add in some of the reserved juice from the peeled tomatoes. Make sure that you do reserve them because they're very important for us in making the sauce. And it's at this point that we lower the heat down to medium-low and we let this sauce come together on its own. My memories. You know, as you become an adult, I think that your memories become even better what truly did happen. But this was for me something that defined the moment of Sunday at the house. The pasta, the pizzaiola, the potatoes will come out, and mom and dad telling their stories, and me being a child looking forward to every Sunday at home knowing that something special will take place. At this point, I like to taste. Now, I use this technique because my finger is much stronger than my lips. It allows me to control the drip of the sauce from the back of the spoon, and the flavor is so good I'm hardly able to talk. But the sauce is ready. Now, the last thing that we need to do in this is to let the pork chop basically braise into the sauce. We're gonna have it on a medium-low heat, and we're gonna let this cook into the sauce until it cooks all the way through. All right, let's be clear about something. How long does it take? Because don't you hate it when people tell you, hey, you cook it until it's ready. When is it ready? So usually for something of this size, this was about a 3/4 inch pork chop that I got. We pounded it down to a 1/4 inch. I cooked it about 2.5 minutes on each side, frying it. And here in the sauce, I like to keep it into the sauce for another 4 to 5 minutes. And that should take care of completely cooking it through. Remember, the thing that's most important, you do not want to use high heat. This is a soft braising process that gives you the yield that you're looking for. We let this baby go for a few minutes. I can feel from the touch that she's ready to go, so let me show you how to plate it. It's gonna be fantastic. There are many dishes that define who we are in life, that define us for the past that we come from. I think that we feel the past first and foremost with our mind, with our memories, and with our taste. This pork chop pizzaiola reminds me of a table full of family, my mom, my dad. Even though they're on the other side, and I'm sure they're cooking for just about every angel in the sky, this to me is one of those dishes that defines my growth, from a young boy to a young man, and from a young man to a mature one that really knows how to cook. And this, well, this is how you make pork chop pizzaiola.
Pasta on Sunday is a must. Even if it's just my wife and I, even if we don't have people coming to the house, it doesn't matter. It feels right that Sunday exists. Sunday is a very special day for me because it reminds me of this unified family day that stays with you, even when you become an adult.
I don't know what part of the world you're in, but if you're Italian, come Sunday, that is a pasta day. I cannot recall a dinner at my house on Sunday where pasta wasn't part of the menu. This particular pasta is called Agghiu e Ogghiu, two Sicilian words. Agghiu, which means garlic, Ogghiu, which means olive oil. By the way, if it's a Sicilian saying Ogghiu, you know it's going to be extra virgin olive oil. So this is the kind of recipe for which you want to use your best quality of extra virgin olive oil because the olive oil truly becomes the sauce. But I think I'm talking too much. Let me show you how to make it. Dealing with garlic. Let me say something. Burnt garlic is not fun. No matter how much you love garlic. So what we're trying to do in this particular recipe is to make sure that the garlic and the oil become one. Why did I cut the garlic so thick? What is the point? Most people like to cut it very, very thin. I like for the garlic to brown on the outside, and given the fact that we're going to cook this on medium-low heat, we want for the garlic to cook all the way through. But at the same time, the garlic is going to infuse the oil with its own flavor. But it's not going to be alone. The next thing that we're going to do is add red pepper flakes. This is good enough just to give a hint of spice. Now, what you can see is that the garlic is starting to really pop in here, but it's not cooked all the way yet. We're gonna need several minutes to do that. And even though I'm cooking on medium-low, the amount of heat being reserved in the pan from the fact that I heated up this pan on high heat is still present. But what we're trying to do right now for the garlic in a certain way is to fry it and braise it at the same time. Why braising it? In this particular case, the garlic is as important as a piece of meat. As a matter of fact, in this particular case, the garlic substitutes the protein. If you look at the historical content of this particular dish, it's a dish that was prevalent famous amongst the farmers. It's a dish uniquely made by poor people that cannot afford expensive ingredients. And yet, as all the dishes which are part of what we call the cucina povera means poor man cooking, are by far, in my opinion, the most relevant dishes in the Italian cuisine. One of the things that you're noticing is how the color is changing slowly. And the reason why it's changing slowly is because I keep turning it around, making sure that the garlic doesn't stand still in the same spot. What you want to have when this is done is almost like little candies. You bite into it, there will be the crust of the garlic on the outside, they will be somewhat resilient. But as you push with your molar all the way through, a cream-like will splash all around your tongue, giving you this wonderful sensation of joy. Yeah, to me, garlic is joy, but the fact that this garlic will accompany my favorite pasta, it's even better. You can see that now most of the pieces of garlic are picking up the browning that we want to. It is at this point that I don't mind glazing it with additional flavors. Sea salt, first and foremost. And a little bit of pepper. Shake it so that it goes all over the pan. You also have to realize that right now, in spite of the fact that you're not seeing this, there is an enormous amount of flavor that's taking place here inside the oil. The oil, right now, is the sauce. This oil will basically shape the way in which the pasta will taste. So the salt and the pepper are the two basic things that we want to have in there, but the juices that have leaked out of the garlic are now present. We now have the perfect color. Watch what we're doing next. We're going to add chopped parsley. The parsley will fry in it. By the way, to make this even more interesting when you do this at home, you can do it with parsley. You can do a mixture of parsley and mint. Mint is fabulous. Also use basil. At this point is your fantasy. What you choose to do, it's the way to do it. The garlic is perfectly cooked. It's picked up the gorgeous browning. And remember, brown is good, black is not. I love the color black. You can see it from my shirt as well, but does not do well with garlic. Now, we're gonna go with our pasta. Pasta is cooked al dente. What does it mean? The pasta is slightly undercooked. Why? I want two things. I want for all the flavors to penetrate the pasta completely. And the oil right now is toasting the pasta. At this point, I lowered it down to low. I'm gonna crank it back up to medium high, and I want to see a little bit of toasting taking place with this pasta. This is the element that a lot of people miss. They simply put it into the oil, they give it a couple of flips. I mean, you don't need to do what I'm about to do. But there's the difference between good and great. Let me show you how to make it great. This dish, as I mentioned before, is a dish that's mostly done by people who have no means, or very little means. So every element that comes into is imbued with enormous flavor. The enormous flavor already put in by the garlic is evident, but what you don't know yet is that what we're going to add now is Italian-style breadcrumbs, which I have previously toasted. Why are we doing this? What's the importance? What's the difference? Watch the pan and look what happens. Now, these breadcrumbs are doing two things. They're absorbing the additional oil that's left in the pan, which is the sauce, and they're sticking themselves as a secondary coating to the pasta. Why is this important? You don't just have pasta at this point. You have several coatings, meaning that every bite that you take in, there will be the garlic, there will be the parsley, there will be the pasta. And then there's one more ingredient that I'm gonna add in just a moment. The pasta has gotten us exactly where we want to go. Turn off the heat completely at this point. And it is at this point that we go with cheese. Now, traditional cheese is pecorino, which in the United States, very similar cheese you find, pecorino romano, but I believe that the Sicilian pecorino is even better. Ladies and gentlemen, the pasta's gotten exactly the look that I wanted to give it to it, and now we're ready to plate it. Let me show you. This pasta is more than a plate of pasta to me. This pasta is a very vivid memory of my youth. This pasta made me. I fell in love with pasta, I think, the first time that I had Ogghiu. I can recall it, how my father used to make, how my mom used to make it, and the way in which I evolved my own style in making it. I think that this is a recipe that tells a family story, the story of my family. So, next Sunday, when you're wondering what to do, keep this in mind. How about making some pasta Aggio? And this is how you make pasta Aggio e Ogghiu.
But what I remember is walking in from church, opening that door, walking into the house, and just smelled that aroma. And I knew that paradise was waiting for me. Sunday's paradise. Il mangiare della domenica è perfetto, which translated in English means whatever you eat on Sunday is perfect. Well, especially if you're at my house.